Morant, once hailed as a rising superstar with an unbreakable drive, has found himself in the middle of a puzzling season that few saw coming. Fans who expected constant highlight reel plays have been left scratching their heads at the shifts in his performance. He still flashes brilliance with his passing and court vision, but the electricity that made him a must-watch phenomenon seems to be flickering. Questions about his health, his mental approach, and the evolving team strategy at the Memphis Grizzlies only add to the complexity. Everybody wonders if this is just a temporary slump or the first sign of a more permanent trend. The deeper you look, the more you realize the story extends beyond mere shooting percentages or minutes per game. Not long ago, Morant's dynamic style had people comparing him to some of the NBA's most explosive point guards. Every time he soared for a dunk, it felt like the crowd collectively held its breath. He was fearless on fast breaks and would throw himself into the paint for floaters that seemed automatic. Opponents tried to slow him down with double teams or big bodies, yet he slipped through coverage like it didn't exist. That fast-paced fearlessness was part of what vaulted him into countless highlight reels, and it shaped the Grizzlies' identity as a quick-strike team that could overwhelm defenses in a matter of seconds. Today, that unstoppable swagger appears muted. Some of it might be due to cautious team decisions, but the difference is impossible to miss. His injuries and the mental weight that often come with them are front and center in discussions about why his game feels off. Explosive leaping ability can be a blessing and a curse, especially for an athlete who relies on it for a large part of his offensive production. Rumors suggest lingering aches have forced him to rethink how often he challenges defenders in midair. If he previously soared with no second thought, now there is a fleeting moment of hesitation. That slight pause can mean the difference between a posterizing slam and a routine layup. On a mental level, repeated setbacks might temper aggression, because no one wants to endure another lengthy stay on the injured list. Memphis, equally cautious, has chosen to limit his minutes, keeping him just under the 30-minute mark. Such strategic restrictions aim to preserve him for the long haul, but they also disrupt the flow he once thrived on. Part of the bigger issue involves the team's new offensive approach. Last season, everything felt Ja-centric, pick-and-roll actions designed for him to shine, tons of spacing to give him room to accelerate, and countless opportunities to exploit his speed. Now, there's a noticeable dip in pick-and-roll frequency, which once served as his primary weapon. Observers see him at times standing in the corner, waiting for a play to develop that doesn't directly involve him. Jaren Jackson Jr., meanwhile, has been stepping up as a more assertive presence on both ends of the floor, leading some to believe the pecking order in Memphis is evolving. This change in play style might be good for long-term team chemistry, but it risks diluting the brilliance that turned Morant into a star. Frustrations have boiled over during games, evidenced by how often he gets into heated exchanges with officials. His technical fouls are piling up faster this season compared to previous years. Some suggest he's not receiving the same favorable calls because of that newly adjusted game plan, reduced drives to the rim, and an overall drop in attempts at the basket. Morant has never been known to shy away from speaking his mind, but each instance of venting to referees hints at deeper frustration. He used to attack the paint relentlessly, expect contact, and convert tough shots anyway. Currently, that internal confidence in finishing through defenders seems to waver, and every missed whistle only intensifies his irritation. Speculation about locker room dynamics has also surfaced. Critics wonder if the shift in focus toward other contributors has affected his sense of leadership. When a player goes from undisputed face of the franchise to a star who now shares the spotlight more often, friction can arise. Reports of behind-the-scenes discussions about the Grizzlies' offensive direction have been circulating, and some fans believe that if the tension grows, it could disrupt overall team morale. Others argue that Memphis simply wants to balance its attack, ensuring longevity for their star guard. No one has produced concrete evidence of any major fallout, yet the swirl of rumors suggests not everyone is on the same page about how to integrate Morant's unique skill set moving forward. Another factor weighs heavily on the situation: Morant's perimeter game. Three-point shooting was never his strong suit, but his signature floater used to compensate by giving him a reliable mid-range weapon. This year, that floater volume has plummeted, shining a spotlight on one of his obvious weaknesses, outside shooting. Opponents now dare him to settle for shots he's not fully comfortable taking. While defenders used to panic at his drives, there's a growing trend of them sagging off, waiting for him to fire from beyond the arc. Without the reassuring fallback of the floater, Morant faces more pressure to expand his range, but the results have been underwhelming so far. Fans question whether this slump is all in his head, as his confidence in certain moves appears unsteady. Whenever he's interviewed, he expresses a desire to find his rhythm, and some people close to the team suggest that pressing too hard to regain his old form might be harming his game. Overthinking can cause an athlete to stop playing instinctively. For someone whose entire identity hinges on lightning-quick decisions, the slightest hesitation can turn a would-be highlight into a missed opportunity. Morant has publicly mentioned forcing shots, something he seldom admitted in the past. That candor reveals the pressure he places on himself to be the spark Memphis needs, even if his approach undermines his natural instincts. It's impossible to ignore the organizational perspective in all of this. The Grizzlies appear determined to preserve their investment by gradually shifting him away from the style that led to frequent collisions and injuries. They have glimpsed his limitations when battered and bruised. The demands of an 82-game season, combined with possible playoff aspirations, make caution a sensible route. Yet every pivot and strategy raises concerns about whether he'll ever return to the fearless brand of basketball he once embodied. Is a safer style going to preserve his longevity? Or will it ultimately stifle the qualities that made him such a captivating force? The question that lingers is whether this season is a mere hiccup or a window into a longer-term transformation for the star point guard. Some believe that once his health stabilizes and he adjusts to the new offensive scheme, he'll re-emerge as the unstoppable force fans remember. Others argue that the parade of injuries, mental setbacks, and strategic shifts might permanently alter how he operates. In an ever-evolving league, adaptability is crucial, but not all adaptations fuel success. Morant still flashes brilliance in key moments, suggesting the door to a return remains open. There's a real possibility that these growing pains are necessary lessons, shaping a more well-rounded player who can balance aggression and self-preservation. Ultimately, Ja Morant's season asks us to consider the fine line between resilience and reinvention. The glimpses of his old self keep supporters hopeful, while the ongoing struggles prompt deeper reflections about how quickly a star's trajectory can change. Athletes who burst onto the scene often face their most daunting challenges in the seasons that follow their initial success. Those that adapt refine their game, adopting new skills and mental fortitude in order to stay relevant. Those that fail to adjust risk fading into the background, overshadowed by fresh talent waiting for their own big break. Whether this path leads Morant to greater accomplishments or a lingering plateau remains unknown, but one thing is certain: the next stretch of games will be scrutinized by every analyst, fan, and skeptic. How he responds will define his legacy, and for now, everyone can only watch and wonder if he'll reclaim that unstoppable edge.